Before you proceed with component installation inside the Enermax Fulmo Advanced mid-tower case, let's first install the motherboard standoffs. Now, Enermax has actually pre-installed 6 of these standoffs already, so you need to install additional ones here inside. I've installed 2 already here. As you can see, through the use of the adapter that Enermax has included in the accessory package, you can easily install the motherboard standoff without using pliers. You can just screw it in place. Make sure to screw it tightly so that it doesn't come off when you uninstall your motherboard later on. Also, depending on the motherboard type that you're going to install, of course you can optionally put standoffs in this area right here, depending on whether you're installing a micro ATX or a standard ATX motherboard. Also, as you can see, the PCB located at the bottom, you can move that to the area right here if you need to install something here on the front area, like a radiator or optional fan or intake, or if you just want to free up that space here for cable management. To install 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drives inside the Enermax Fulmo case, you have 2 options. And for 3.5 inch drives, you have the vertical or horizontal. Let me just demonstrate this horizontal mounting area right here. It looks, this is a very unique design, not found in other cases. First, these 2 things right here, they look, they're not really part of the mounting mechanism, but if you are going to install something on the side, just pop it out so that it doesn't bang into your table, work area. And of course, once you remove the screws on the top, you can just slide the lock on the top. There you go, to the side, and this one right here, this metal wire at the bottom, basically allows you to lock it in place like that, so it doesn't. So it actually just stays in place like that. And here I have actually pre-installed the 2.5 inch drive already. And before I did that, make sure to remove the grommets that are supporting it, because you won't be able to. These are for 3.5 inch drives. If you're going to install an SSD drive in there, it's better if you remove it remove a pair of them to install these screws right here on the top part, because you won't have enough clearance to install your drive and these grommets in between with the length of the screws provided. And as you can see, you can install a regular size 3.5 inch drive in here and a regular 2.5 inch drive or an SSD drive as well. That's good because you can there's one you can install it on this side and more on the other side as well. Now that's good because it doesn't interfere with the airflow. But if you want a more traditional mounting, there is also an option here to install a pair of 3.5 inch drives right in the middle, and you can also lock it with screws. Make sure to use the appropriate screw when you're installing. They're clearly labeled, so it's not hard to miss. The 3.5 inch drive has a longer and larger screw, while the 2.5 inch and optical drive mounting screws are much smaller. To install a 5¼ inch optical device or a 5¼ inch external device, you must first take out the matching drive bay cover. And to do that, of course, for example, we're going to take this second drive bay cover here. Just simply push the latches on each side away from each other while pushing the drive bay cover inward. And then you can just take your optical device and slide it in place. Before you do that, of course, the lock has to be disengaged. So you have to push to the right and lift it so that there's no locks on each side. The lock is only actually here on the left side, so you don't have to worry about the right side panel. Even you can actually leave the right side panel by removing it. And once the mounting holes are lined, you can just drop down your lock. Make sure it's aligned properly, and then lock it in place. Make sure optical drive doesn't move, and put back your drive bay cover. If you are only going to install a 5¼ device on the topmost drive bay, you can install instead an optional 120mm intake fan. The Enermax Fulmo Advanced has a bottom-mounted power supply mounting area, and as you can see there are padding all over. There's padding here on the side and padding at the bottom. These are 4 padding points that lift the power supply a few millimeters off the case itself, and there's also padding here at the back so it doesn't scratch your case. And so when you install your power supply, you should point the ventilation fan downwards towards the ventilation area right here at the bottom. So let's take our power supply and lift the Velcro that's used to secure it in place. Just slide it completely and pull on to your Velcro strap. Make sure it's completely tight, and of course don't forget to screw it in the back. With a standard ATX form factor power supply and the bottom hard drive cage removed, you can actually install a 240mm dual fan radiator at the bottom. Although as you can see, the space is quite tight for managing the power supply cables and the radiator hose. I just had to move the PCB for the built-in fan controller from the bottom area to the designated pre-drilled holes right below the motherboard, so it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. And to ease installation, I moved the vertical mounting hard drive plates out of the way, but you can actually put it back, and there's still space to put them back with the radiator at the bottom. As you can see here, I have installed the largest video card currently available. This is the AMD Radeon HD 6990 dual GPU video card. In order to fit that, I had to lower this vertical hard drive mounting area. So there's enough room, and there's even enough room for other video cards that are even longer than this if it ever comes out. And the mechanism is toolless. All you need to do is, of course, just push the latch in and take out the reusable PCI-E slot cover, and then lock it back in place. And as for the heatsink clearance, there is enough clearance for up to 160mm with an optional side fan installed inside. But if you're not going to install a side fan, which is a default one, is actually enough clearance for 182mm, so that should cover most of the aftermarket heatsinks currently available. The side fan included is actually aimed at the GPU area, so you don't have to worry about a clearance for the top if you have a heatsink that is larger than 160mm. That is very convenient. And you don't even need to lower the vertical hard drive mounting mechanism if you have a video card that is measuring less than 12 inches, like this HD 6990. You can, if you are going to install a GTX 580 or 6970, you don't need to lower that. You'll have enough clearance to move around and install your video card in place. Alright, here we have all of our test setup components installed inside the Enermax Fulmo Advanced mid-tower case. And you can see, even though there is a non-modular power supply, there's room to manage cables. I just basically stuck all of it right here underneath the hard drive cage so the airflow doesn't get disrupted. The SSD I have mounted here sideways onto the vertical mounting area, but I've mounted the hard drive in the mounting area right in front of the fan, so it gets a direct cooling from one of the 120mm fans right in front. And it is a wide open area in there, where it's just basically just the 2 SATA cables in the way of the intake fan, so that should be very, very good in terms of delivering the intake cool air into our components inside. And I've used most of the cable routing areas, but not all of it. The SATA cables I've actually routed here to the front, and the there's actually these little holes here in front, like where you can route your USB cable from the front panel. So that's very convenient. Instead of routing it with the rest of the other cables, you can just use that. And I have also routed the front panel connectors into that little routing hole. There's also a similar one here, shared with the Velcro strap, where you can route the front panel audio cable, which I've used there. There's sufficient room to do that. And here at the top there is a routing hole right on the top left corner. It actually partially gets obstructed with the motherboard installed, but you can still route the 8-pin power connector there and the fan connectors to the rear. And let's look into the other side and see what the cables are like behind the motherboard tray, behind the right side panel. Right, so this is what it looks like behind the right side panel, and as you can see, there are plenty of cable routing options. The 24-pin power supply cable is routed there, and the 8-pin CPU connector is routed here at the back, as well as the top and rear 3-pin fans, which are attached to the 4-pin Molex adapter that Enermax has included. Since we are going to test it with the maximum speed setting using the 12-volt C. And here I've even used the Velcro that is used to hold down the power supply to hold the 8-pin CPU connector in place. And see, it's very clean. I didn't change much the routing options that are already pre-routed when the Enermax Fulmo was unboxed. This is the cables for the front panel and the connectors I already routed in that area. And there's a lot more options here. This is smaller options, cable routing options here for your your USB and for your front panel audio. And there's even the cable management ties that you can use here to hold more of the other cables in place if you're going to route more here into this area. So as you can see, it's very clean, and as long as everything is out of the front intake fan is not obstructed, it should work fairly well. And let's actually put back the side panels now and fire up the Enermax Fulmo Advanced mid-tower case and see how the LED looks like.